Yo, what's going on? Dude, it's been a while. I've been a little out of it. But I'm going to talk about that. If you are tuning into this and you're kind of like, what the hell is this? My name's Trevor. I started a podcast, and the main reason for this is I just wanted a place to talk about and document my journey, my self-improvement that I've been working on, different side hustles I try, and just experiences throughout my life. I'm 33, just had a birthday last week, and yeah, I this is episode number 3 officially. It's been a little while since I released it. I'll tell you why. I'll go through that. But yeah, I just want to start this kind of a audio docu-series, just sharing thoughts on. I'm a big tech guy. I have a channel for doing tech reviews and tutorials, so I really dig that aspect of things. I just kind of like to talk about that. But more so than that, since I have that channel to kind of explore tech stuff, this is more of a podcast to talk about self-improvement, different experiences that I'm having, and learning experiences and growth that I'm just trying to grind and make it, just like everybody, right? So I thought it would be a cool way for me to kind of document my thoughts and my journey as I continue to grow and learn things throughout this life. And to be dead honest, one of the biggest motivators was to create this so that my kids could have something when they are getting older and they got kids and they come to a point in their life where they're maybe looking for something different or they're struggling and they want to see, what did dad do around this time? What did he do when he was 30 or 33 or whatever? And how did he figure things out? And what were kind of some of the tough things that he was going through or some of the breakthroughs that he had? So that's the main reason I want to do this. And if it helps other people out there, then I think it's cool. So yeah, that's the main motivation. Long-winded. It's been a little while. It's been a little crazy. This coronavirus has been nuts this year. 2020 definitely has started out a little crazy. It's June 25th. Right now, I'm in my basement recording this, and so quite a few things have changed. I've been doing some things and learning some stuff, and I'll talk about a couple of that, or a couple of those things coming up. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really pumped to kind of get back into doing this, and I want to be more consistent with it, and just kind of rad it, man, and document what's going on and kind of get more into a flow and a rhythm of it. So for this episode, the main things that I just wanted to kind of talk about and, just hit on that I've been thinking a lot about lately and that I've been really pushing on is self-care, independence, kind of adapting, not kind of, but adapting a winner's mindset, becoming a winner, and really all that summing into kind of creating your own life and just what does success mean to you, and being happy, achieving what you want to, right? I'll kind of talk about like the growth mindset that I discovered that helped me a ton, overcoming and owning obstacles in your life, not being a victim, and then just some different things that have helped me, in my opinion, grow and become more successful, especially mentally, as I kind of just go through this. I'll talk about a couple books I'm reading and thoughts about that. Tech I love right now, obviously. I'll hit up a couple tech things at the end, and then also the favorite thing that I've heard lately that I wanted to share. So I'll be going through a bunch of stuff. I'll link a ton of stuff in this episode in case you're interested about the resources, but I'll try not to take a ton of time. I'm trying to keep these episodes between 20 and 30 minutes. Last one was a little long. I ramble, so I'm working on being more efficient. All right. So I wanted to update my status. So I'm still doing this thing. I'm going to be moving this from my tech channel to its own channel. Not quite sure what I'm going to be calling it yet, but I thought it'd just be more appropriate, instead of for people coming to my channel to learn or see different types of tech tutorials and reviews. I didn't want to confuse that, so I started a new channel for YouTube anyway that you can go to and subscribe to if you're interested in this kind of stuff. That way you can follow along. The podcast won't be changing at all, so the audio version will stay the same, and I'll be more consistent, so I'm excited about it. The next thing is, I just want to hit on this real quick. For the coronavirus, it's been a little crazy. Hope you guys are all doing good and staying safe. Hopefully things can start to return to normal soon. The George Floyd thing was a big deal, and I just wanted to touch on it and say I'm very saddened by what happened. It's a terrible thing, and I feel sick about the family that was affected and the Black community. Definitely have my thoughts and prayers and love for you guys. It affected me in a way for sure, because I married a Hispanic lady, Joyce, my wife, and I have mixed kids, and so it was definitely something that we talked about in my house, and any form of racism is terrible. So one thing that I think is such a great thing is the huge movement that it's making towards just being more thoughtful and makes you think, I think that's a good thing. And it's really sad that it had to come from such a tragic event. And yeah, that's about it. So let me dive into this thing. So this last year has been pretty traumatic for me. It's been crazy. My last episode, honestly, I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure I mentioned that I lost my dad last June, so it's been officially a year. He was 65, really pretty young. Never thought he would go this early, so that was such a shock to me and my family. And then 3 months later, I lost my brother, my only and oldest of the family. My brother, he was like a father figure to me, so that was really difficult for me to deal with. It was such a shock. I remember losing my dad and just being, me and my dad had a good relationship. We weren't super close, but I really admired a lot of things that he did, had a lot of admiration for him. And it was hard to swallow, but that one obviously felt a little more normal just because he was older. And I felt like I could cope with that one. My brother was really difficult for me. It was very difficult. He died, unfortunately, from a drug overdose, and so that was, he had some struggles that he was dealing with, and that was hard. But through those two huge events in my life, really one of the hardest things I've really had to deal with, especially death-wise, I feel like I've been learning a ton about myself this last year, and it really forced me to reevaluate myself and what I was about and what I'm doing and what I want to be, what I want to accomplish in this life. I'm 33. I just turned 33. My birthday is June 15th, and like this whole last year, I've just been really, that's been a huge burning question for me. It's like, what's your motivation? What are your goals? Like, what do you want to do? And so one thing that really hit me, so there's 3 men in my family, and 2 of them are gone. I'm the only one, and I'm the second from the youngest kid. So it felt heavy all of a sudden, and I just had to learn quickly, as much as I felt independent and kind of, doing my own thing, I felt an even bigger weight and pressure to be more independent and more self-reliant, completely standalone, no excuses, nothing, like just to be a dependable, responsible person, And I guess dependable is the biggest word, because my mom, she's a strong lady and she's very independent and she's doing great. She's taking care of herself. However, there's no one to go to, it feels really lonely. And I felt a ton of loneliness this year. No resources. There's a lot of resources I have in my life. I have great friends. My father-in-law is such an awesome person to me. And so I can always reach out to him and my friends. A lot of great mentors. My boss is one of those that I work for, Jake. And so that's been great. But also it just like hits you how quickly things can go, you know? And so that made me think a lot about becoming a lot more well-rounded in my own person, a problem solver, someone that can take care of things without having to go somewhere. I think it's always good to have a network and people to go to, but in this instance, I think it was really apparent that I needed to be really self-reliant. So I've been working on that a lot and like talking about that. And the biggest thing for me with that is there's like no excuses for things. Like you just have to, I mean, things get done or they don't. And if it's up to you to do it, like you just got to do it, you know? And I know that just seems so simple, but maybe that's the beauty of it, how simple it is. Another thing that along that journey, along this whole line of things that was really obvious to me, especially over the last couple months, was how I needed to take care of myself. I don't want to leave early. I don't want to be unhealthy and risk leaving too soon, you know? And who knows when their name gets called, but one thing that's been really important to me is how to take care of yourself and like focus on your body, your mind, having some self-value in the work that you're doing and what you're bringing to the world. And at the very core of that, just like expecting more from yourself and just understanding how strong as a person really is, like really deep down. If you really like look at it, their will and strength to live and persevere and just keep striding on, it's really remarkable. And believing in that, I think, is a big deal, you know? Like I'm giving a speech. I'm not meaning to do that. I'm really just trying to like speak from my experience. So hope it's coming off that way. Becoming a winner and building my life from what I've learned, I feel like, number one, there's so much more to learn and there's always room to grow and there's always that next level for things, you know? And I think the very first thing that when I started thinking about that question, like what's a winner and like how do I just become a winner, you know, is, I just lost it, man. I was going to say, like, you got to start somewhere. It just doesn't matter wherever you start. And I feel like it's so weird, this pressure that we all put on ourselves to like be whatever in 2 weeks or overnight successes and all that kind of stuff, you know? But just starting somewhere and like doing your best, whatever that is so important. One quick story about that is I have focused a lot more on my diet and exercise and working out. And dude, I remember the first day, it was just so hard. It was terrible. It's like I wasn't used to it, you know? And so no joke, I did a 10-minute workout. It was tough. It was a high intensity interval training type exercise. And it was tough, man. I was breathing, I was sweating like crazy, and it was 10 minutes. But the one thing I told myself is like, hey, it doesn't matter how long, it doesn't matter anything. Like you just got to do it every day. Just do it. That's it. And having that mindset, and all of a sudden you look back and you string all these exercises together every day, and then you start getting a little bit better and a little bit stronger, and you have a little bit more endurance. It's really awesome to see the results from that. And the really cool thing specifically about working out, it's such a personal thing, you know, and you start to feel better and you start to like figure out how to navigate your body and what feels good, what doesn't. And then you start to push yourself. But it definitely wasn't a from day one thing, you know, like I've been working out, and this isn't even super impressive either, but it's been probably really, really consistent about a month and a half. That first month was tough. I probably worked out like half the days, you know? But based off what I'm trying to get at is becoming winners. It's like you got to start somewhere and then you just start to build. And that's such an important thing. Like you just got to start and don't worry about the level that you're starting at, but just keep grinding. So I wrote down like 7 things of what I feel will help you become a winner. And the first thing that I wrote down was be honest with yourself and know yourself. Understand what, like, literally, I heard a talk from Jordan Peterson today. He's a cool guy. I'll reference him later. But he wrote a book called 12 Steps for Life. And in one of these talks I heard from him is he said, you got to really sit down and look at your life and start to break it down to what makes you happy and what doesn't make you happy. And get rid of the things that don't make you happy and do more of the things that make you happy. And that sounds simple again, and again, I think that's just like a beautiful thing from it, but you just got to sit down and like sort it out. You got to figure it out. No one else can do it for you. This is the really tough thing about this, is like no one else can do it for you. And I had a big struggle with this my entire life, where I had a lot of issues personally, just kind of feeling like I was adequate and believing in myself, you know? The one area that I always felt I did really well at was sports. I feel like I was talented enough and I put in the work for that unknowingly. I didn't really think about it. I just wanted to do it just because I loved it so much. Looking back, I think that was a huge blessing in my life, and it kind of helped me bridge the gap to now where I'm trying to navigate the work world, trying to grow with my career skills and these side hustles and things like that I'm doing. Being a parent is a big deal too, obviously. But yeah, being honest with yourself and knowing where you're at and having that self-love and really getting to know yourself and what your weaknesses are and your strengths, and so you know what to work on. That's a big deal, and it's a tough conversation. But I remember talking to friends and even my wife and just kind of venting things out. And in the back of my mind, I was just like, tell me how to fix it. Just tell me how to do it and I'll do it, you know? That's kind of my mindset for a long time. And that was the hardest thing for me, is to switch from trying to have someone tell you what to do and you got to go like figure it out, you know? And it takes time and it takes trial and error, and you're going to fail, and it's going to be cool though, but you're going to learn a ton about yourself. And after you do that so many times, eventually you just start to think like, and you look back and you're like, hey, I'm learning, I'm growing, and you start to become wiser and more experienced, and you start to believe in yourself, because then you start to see some things that are going right and there's a pattern, and it helps you a ton. So that's a big one. The next thing I wrote down was prepare and then study what you want to do. Being prepared is like such a big deal. Even like me now, I've been really working on trying to wake up earlier in the morning to get my workout in. If I do not set out my clothes and get my protein shake bottle and everything ready and my socks and everything, it's tough. But if I do those things, it helps me get in the right mindset, like way before I even go work out, like the night before. And so then I'm going to bed thinking I'm going to wake up, and that helps a ton. And that's in everything. And the cool thing about all these points I'm making is you gotta figure it out for yourself, but you can do it however you want. And so that's really the beauty of it. So I've said that like 5 times. But yeah, prepare, study, do some homework, learn about what you want to do, and put in the time to know it. Then you don't have to be paralyzed by indecision, but you have an angle that you feel confident in going with, and then you just do it, and then you either it's successful or you learn, right? There's no losing. Next thing is that I wrote down, number 3, is just work. Like, you gotta just show up and work. You gotta put in the time. There's a really cool book on this, but if you just show up to these different places that you know obligate you to do something, like exercise would be the gym, maybe you work, you want to write, and so then you have to open up the computer and start typing. Like, if you just show up and get there, then you can just start putting in the time that it takes, and then all of a sudden you're going to start seeing a magical thing happen where you just start getting better and better and better just because you show up every time. That's a big deal. putting in the work for sure. Learning, so not just like showing up and doing it, but like learning from it and evaluating it. That's the next one. Number 5 is evaluating and restructure. So reassess things and see what's working, what's not, and do more of what's working, less of what's not, and just like reevaluate that. I feel like this is taking too long. I'll speed it up. Number 6, do what you want. One thing that was really interesting, and I can't remember where I heard it, but if you're not doing what you want to do, and then that in turn is making you unhappy, then everything else around you is like, you're not going to be happy. It's not going to be a good experience, and you're not going to be pleasant to be around. No one's going to want to be around you. You're not accomplishing anything that's making you want to do and live life and wake up and just jump out of bed. So if you don't take care of yourself and like do things that you want to do, then I feel like that's broken and you got to fix it. So if you're in a job that you don't love, if you aren't playing basketball and you love playing basketball and like makes you happy and you need to go 3 times a week, then like sacrifice it and do it. But cut out the other crap that's like not necessary. And the last one, number 7, I got like 3 points here because I guess I'll call this the don't clause. The biggest lesson for me this year is don't dwell. You screw up, whatever. It sucks. Let it burn enough for you to learn from it. But don't dwell and don't let it take you out for the next week. Don't let it take you out for a month before you finally hop back on. Let it suck, but like fix it. Like right away. Fix it the next day. There's a really cool book. I'll mention this too, but it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's very popular right now. But he talks about that a ton. He's like, hey, I make mistakes. Sometimes I miss a workout. Sometimes I miss doing work a day or whatever, but I don't let it linger. I don't sit down and dwell on it. I don't beat myself up and kill myself. I just let it sink. That's it. Sucks. Whatever. And then the next day, you just hop back on and start doing it again. And so don't dwell. That's like, that in itself has been such a huge lesson for me this last year. And not having to worry about that anymore and just be like, hey, yeah, whatever, I screwed up, but I can hit it tomorrow, or I can hit it later. I can do it right now, whatever, you know? Having that mindset's a big deal. Don't ever give up. And the last one is don't be afraid. That's kind of a weird one because that one's kind of sneaky, especially as we kind of get older. And I'm 33. I never really thought I was scared of anything. But I went to work for my father-in-law. This is kind of a quick story. I went and worked for my father-in-law. He does landscaping one Saturday, and he has a big dump truck. And I remember jumping out of it, and I was like, dude, this is high. And I've been an athlete my entire life. I always jump off stuff. Never bothered me ever before. But like, you don't do it for a while, and then all of a sudden you're like up there, and you're like, oh man, you know? But I just remember thinking like, dude, you just got to do it a couple times and then you won't be scared anymore. You won't have that feeling anymore. You just got to like get used to it. And so I think being scared amps you up for a reason because it kind of helped. Like if you let those paralyze you, then it can be a negative thing. But if you use that to just go for it and do it, then it can be a really beautiful thing to kind of get you amped enough to take that step and take a risk and go for it, you know? So, for whatever it's worth, that's my list of 7. Take it or leave it. And this has also been really helpful for me. You got to find things to keep you motivated and keep you going. Find something to read or people to talk to. Podcasts, friends, books, articles, different speeches, YouTubes, whatever. There's so many things out there that you can use, and I feel like that's helped me a ton, you know, like even just listening to an audiobook or podcast while you're doing dishes and driving. It's a really cool buffer to help keep you in a good mindset. And the cool thing about that is they say surround yourself with people that you want to be like and grow with and like-minded people so that you can become successful, you know. This allows you to take some of the most brilliant minds in the world right now, and they're like all in your pocket. Like people are releasing YouTube videos all over the place. There's so many motivational speeches. There's podcasts just talking about different people's mindsets and how they work. And that's been a huge benefit to me this last year, is just kind of surrounding myself. The one thing is about that is the only negative, sometimes you can get lost and just like count on that to fix you. But you got to remember, like, you still got to go put in the time, use those things, but you still got to go do your thing, you know? And no one's like you. No one's going to be exactly like you. Like, do your thing. Everyone's different, you know? Maybe you're a crazy note taker and someone thinks you're nuts and it takes you 2 hours to write notes to complete one thing. But maybe that's what you do. And that's cool. Maybe that's going to be the cool thing in 10 years because you do it. I don't know. But just like, do you, you know? But it's cool to hear these stories and kind of have that mindset around you all the time. So just kind of hit on a couple resources that have helped me. I'll list all these in the details if you want to check them out. If you're listening, you want to write down a couple. I'll try to hype them up to see what hits your string. But the first thing, one of the best books I've read this last year, was The Obstacle is the Way, and it's by Ryan Holiday. He studies Stoicism from the ancient Greeks, generally speaking. And this book was so awesome. Like, it's such a great read. It's not hard, but it has such great lessons, and he puts it together in such a great way. It's a really fun read. It's not super long, and the value that he brings out in that book is insane. So if there's one book that I'll have you read, it's kind of a tie, but that would be 1A. And the second one that I would recommend, I heard this from Joe Rogan, but it's called The War of Art. And that one is about how the most important thing is for you to show up to work and to just start working, and how the muse works through you to help you with your creativity, to push out work and to, bridge the gap from your mind and the work that you're outputting to create this beautiful thing, and one of the biggest examples that I remember is he talks about how do we write stories? How does anyone come up with a story? Like, what's in your brain versus my brain that the Little Red Riding Hood came from, or whatever, but you sit down, you work, and you start letting the muse flow through you with creativity, and all of a sudden you start to produce great work, and the more you show up, the better that you get. And so that's a great book, and it's a short book. It's awesome. Can't remember who wrote it. Let me see. It's in my Audible. Sorry, give me a second. The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. So yeah, it's a great book. I guess I'll link it too, obviously. A couple other great resources. Gary Vee, he has a great podcast. He has a great YouTube channel. He's all over social media. If you're looking for some hard motivation and some just really good life lessons about trying to achieve the life you want, he's a great resource. He has 2 books that I highly recommend. One of them is called Crush It, and then the second one is called Crushing It. And so Crush It was written back in 2009, just about how with technology, you can really do whatever you want. And then he wrote a follow-up to that, which shows some really cool case studies of how people did that and how they're doing now, and it's really cool. Jordan Peterson, I mentioned him earlier. He wrote a book, 12 Rules for Life. He has some really cool motivational speaking talks that he gives. And the cool thing about him is he's a psychology professor, and he gives a lot of great detail about how the mind works and what you kind of need to do from a natural standpoint to feel self-worth and to feel value in your life. And so he has some really great talking points for sure. Joe Rogan, obviously, if you don't know who Joe Rogan is, I don't know. I don't think I can help you. If you're listening to me and you don't know who Joe Rogan is, hit me up. That'd be funny. Kobe Bryant, sucks that we lost him this year, but I always admired his mindset and just how he had that winner's mentality, His book is called The Mamba Mentality, and it's a great read, very short, has a lot of great pictures, and his points are just so to the point, and it's awesome. You'd really like that. if you don't like to read, his last big interview that he did was through Valuetainment on YouTube. I'll link it. And it's awesome. It's so insightful to how he thinks. One big thing I picked up from him is how he was just so present, and he was very aware of what he needed. He talks about like, hey, if I needed a nap, I took a nap. If I needed to work out more, then I worked out more. Like, he just did what he felt he needed to do. He's very, very in tune with himself, and I thought that was awesome. I mentioned Atomic Habits from James Clear. It's a really great book about how to create some really healthy habits. The Shoe Dog from, I'm blanking on his name. Phil, what's his name? The founder of Nike. Phil Knight. Got it. It's a great inspirational. It's like a novel, but he takes you through his journey, and it's inspirational. It's cool. And the last one, this started everything for me. I remember being really frustrated and kind of not knowing how to navigate life and how to continue to grow and get better. And I picked up this book called Mindset from Carol Dweck, and it talks to you about having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, and it's awesome. So it's a decent sized book, nothing crazy, and I think that'll flip your mind if you're struggling with that. So anyway, I'll link all these resources below. Some really good stuff. One other thing that I think has been really helpful just from a personal standpoint is working out and taking care of your body with a good diet and exercise. It's helped a ton, and especially during this coronavirus, I was able to work from home for, what was it, 2.5, 3 months. And so it was cool for me because I took advantage of the lunch time for me just to go get a quick 30-minute workout. And it just changed my life. It just changed my energy. It changed my confidence. And the other cool thing about working out is you achieve something like difficult. It's hard. It's really hard work to work out and push yourself and break your body down so that it can get stronger. But if you just show up and set whatever time limit you need to at the beginning and just get there, it makes a huge difference. So yeah, last thing I want to talk about real quickly is this tech I'm into. iOS 14 is coming out. If you haven't checked it out yet, Marquise Brownlee has a really cool video about it. If you don't know who MKBHD is, hit me up. That would be interesting. But yeah, he has a cool tutorial about what that's going to be looking like for the iPhone. I feel like they've come a long way, especially with customizations and notifications and things like that. And I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be a really cool software. The other thing that I'm excited to get my hands on, I'm a huge Microsoft fanboy, as you know. So Microsoft came out with the Surface earbuds. So those are supposed to be pretty cool. A little bit of a different design take. I think they look pretty dope. And then if there's one app I was going to recommend, I'm really on this workout kick because I just feel like it helps round out your entire life. And so I would recommend that you pick up the Nike Training Club app. Right now, during this coronavirus craziness, they're offering all their premium workouts for free. And so literally just go download, create an account, and you can get access to tons of videos that will walk you through just different exercises. And the one thing that's really cool that I found with that is them just kind of talking through things and just getting you into a routine. It helps a ton. And you're not going to be able to do it the first time if you haven't worked out for a while, but it's going to get you into a cool rhythm. And the other nice thing about it is like you don't have to worry about planning out your workouts. You just go and listen and just do it. And so that's cool. And then eventually you'll graduate and you'll start to say, hey, what does my body need? And then you start doing that, and then you graduate to the next level. So start with something. And lastly, to end this thing before 35 minutes, the favorite thing that I've heard lately, a big thing that I have been studying a ton is Stoicism this last year. And the one thing I really admire about them is just how responsible they are and how present-minded they are. They are very self-aware with how important the present is and how not to worry about things you can't control. You can only control what you can control. And so with that, there's one resource there's a book actually by Ryan Holiday too. It's called The Daily Stoic. It's pretty cool. It just kind of takes you through daily teachings, and it walks you through 365 days. So you could pick that up and check that out. But there was one quote that I liked, and it said, "It takes what it takes." And with that, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys found some type of value. I'm honestly just kind of a big share of information. And again, at the very core, if literally no one listens or watches this, it's cool. I get it. Hopefully, again, you find some value with some things that I pick up that I like. And yeah, to my kids, I love you guys. If you guys are watching this sometime down the line, I hope it's beneficial for you. But yeah, guys, I'll be running these once a week. And so just little things that I'm thinking about and that I'm picking up on that I just want to share my experiences about. And I hope it brings some type of value to you guys. So take it easy. Peace out. Thanks for checking in. Peace.